Go, NTDO 212, com check.
DPS, go. Inco, go. PUS, go. Surgeon, go. Booster, go. Copy that. We have a go from you guys.
This is Talking Sound.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the Talking Sound podcast, the only podcast on the internet where -10 is a number to be desired. Coming at you live from the throbbing heart of rock and roll that is Austin, Texas. My name is Christopher Jordan, your host, and today on the Talking Sound podcast, we're going to continue with some confessions of an audio engineer today. And whereas last time we kind of covered why it is that I became an audio engineer and what it was in life that brought me to this point, and even to starting this podcast, today we're actually going to focus a little bit more on the wherewithal, what it actually takes to get gigs in this day and age. You know, it's not always the case that you will be able to have an agent to get gigs for you. So most of the time, you're going to be out on your own, pounding pavement, things like that. Now, the first thing that you want to come into is, of course, skills. You want to make sure that you actually have the skills to back up what you're saying. If not, feel free to go out and get an internship at a club, get an internship at a studio, anything like that. But when it actually comes to stepping behind the board, whether you have a degree or not in it, there's still going to be a prove what you got campaign going on with pretty much just about everybody involved. Now, I said you could go to school. As I've said before, I went to school for a little while for audio engineering. Most of what I've learned has been hard-earned over about 20 years almost of doing this thing live. Now, like I said, I did go to school for audio engineering, but it was for about a year, and I went for studio work. I did not go for live engineering. Now, myself, I couldn't really get into the aspects of studio work necessarily. To me, it was very repetitious. It was very dry. It was very cold. I was much more akin to live performance, live engineering, the pressure of doing something and only having that once to do it, only having that one time to get the take right. It's very much a commit to your mix, be confident in what you're doing, and not a, hey, let's try that again another way. There's not really a chance to do that when you're going live. So that is the aspect of engineering that caught me, was the live part of it. Now, that being said, you can go to school for that as well. There are numerous training camps out there. There are some band camps that you can go to, roadie camps even. Places like Full Sail, I know, offer some live engineering programs. But you're going to get a lot more when you're out in the field, when you're out doing it, when you're out point-to-pointing everything, and you have to go into one venue with a band on a Thursday night, and the sound has to be one way because it's a long room and it's narrow, and the next night you're in a wide room that's shallow with the same band and the same sound system. My analogy for that is the sound guy is kind of like the head chef in a kitchen. Most of the chef work is done by line cooks, things like that. The job of the head chef is to make sure that what is going out on plates looks right, tastes right, smells right, everything, and that it's a consistent product. That is the job of a head chef, and that's the job of an audio engineer. The band members are the cooks. The musicians are the cooks. They're the guys that are making everything that we are presently plating up, making sure it looks right, making sure it sounds right, and going out consistently to the audience the same way that they are used to hearing it week after week. Now, once again, that's tough. It's not an easy thing to do, and with that comes a lot of inherent pressure. The question is, how do you get that gig to begin with? This day and age, like I said, you don't always necessarily have a booking agent. Once you get to a certain level and you start making a certain amount of money on the regular, then you can probably start paying an agent. Most agents will want something up front to start. Some of them actually work, quite a few of them actually work on just a straight commission basis, just like with acting agents or booking agents for bands, anything like that, where they get a straight 20% commission off the top and you get what's left over. Now, that's great. That's fantastic, especially if you're coming into a new town, anything like that, and you're not really familiar with the scene yet. Now, the issue that you run into with that is, how do you know this guy in the new town is actually worth his salt? How do you know he is actually out there getting gigs and doing what he's supposed to be doing? You're hoping that that's the case. Now, granted, he's working on a commission only at that point, so he has a vested interest to go out and get something done. It's not like he has $200 up front lining his pocket and then he's going to get 10% on everything after that. It doesn't usually work that way. Now, I've never personally used an agent. I am a beat the feet kind of guy, even with my bands that I've had, even with the bands that I've managed before and helped to produce. I try and instill in them a do-it-yourself attitude. There should be no need to pay anybody for 90% of what you have to do. Maybe once it comes to some graphic design for your band, maybe once it comes to some mastering or, duplication of CDs, building a website, that kind of stuff, then sure, you'll probably have to outsource a little bit of help. But if you're a handy person and you can read instructionals, you'd be surprised what you can do. I myself have learned over the last 3 years to program websites, and all of my websites are now built by me. Now, all my graphic design work I learned years ago doing videos and things like that, corporate videos, and having to make logos and touch up pictures, that kind of thing. So I learned some of that on the job as well. I took an internship at a video house, and that's when I learned. And that's kind of what you have to understand, is that you're not going to land the straight out of the gate fantastic club gig. It would be great, and sometimes it happens. Most of the time, what is happening, though, is the fact that you're going to be getting pickup gigs. You're going to be getting $50 gigs here and there. You're going to be, going to a church one day a week, things like that. And that's great. But until you land something steady, it can be really hard. And it can be very disheartening. Think about it in aspect of a band. How long do you have to go out and play for free before you start getting money? Unless you're a approved musician in town, unless you come from a previous band, or unless you have a guaranteed draw, you're going to be hard-pressed to go out and find a $500 a night gig for a four-person band. It's kind of the same way with audio engineering. Until you've been somewhere, most of the time to get your foot in the door, you're probably going to have to lower your price just a scooch, and then get your foot in the door, come in, do some things for a little while, and then say, hey, I've been here, you've seen my work, I'd like to come up to the level that I've been at. Now, with that comes the concept of marketing. Number one, you're going to need demo material, whether it's on a CD, whether it's on your phone. I'm a big proponent of websites myself, because you can then make PDFs that you can email to people, things like that, where it's basically like an electronic press kit. But you're pretty far behind the times nowadays if all you have is a CD. Not that that isn't great. It's fantastic. People lose CDs. Nothing says professional like a business card. And when you have a business card and when you have a website, that is when things start to cracken. Because at that point, you have literally put your foot on the ground and said, I play on this corner. This is where I'm at. And if you'd like to play, feel free to come on over to my corner. We'll play. It also lays down a groundwork that you're not just some schmo. You're not just some kid that is finishing school or something like that. You're someone who takes yourself professionally and seriously. Now, remember, once you get that business card, fun and games has to end. The drinking on the job, the having 4 or 5 beers, things like that. You have to make sure to deliver that professional level that you're saying that you are. So you really need to be able to exude that. Show up early. Show up crazy early. I am normally loath to show up for a live show anywhere less than 45 minutes before bands do. Now, granted, bands are normally there an hour or two before showtime. I'm normally there an hour or so before bands to turn amplifiers on, turn the board on, get things generally wired, all that kind of stuff, and then give my moment or two to decompress before musicians start showing up and prep for the night's show really begins. Now, that's what I've found over years works for me. It gives you a chance to get everything on. Normally, if something's going to go bad, if something's going to blow, it normally won't even happen while it's taking signal. If it's an amp that's going to blow, it's just going to overheat and it's going to go out. So, get there, get some music rolling through your system, let it go for an hour or so, and if something's going to blow, more than likely it'll happen then. And then you have time to fix it. As opposed to in the middle of sound check with bands, something goes bad and you have to not only fix that to complete the confidence of your work with the bands, but you also have to keep the night on schedule. And at that point, things get really hairy. They get very avalanched very fast. It's very akin to the Tom and Jerry snowball being pushed down the hill, where it starts off very tiny, and as it goes down the hill, it's big enough to engulf you rapidly. And that is really the case. It can get out there and make it to where it ruins the vibe for an entire night. And it's hard to recover from that. It's hard to recover from that not only as an engineer and someone who has to work with numerous people throughout the evening, but it's hard to recover that from as a musician as well. To get back behind those speakers and have the confidence that everything is going to be working in tip-top shape. So that's something that you have to consider. Now, with the business card aspect of it and the punctuality, what you also need to do is make sure, like I said, that you have a website, that you have something that people can go to and look at, whether it be some videos on YouTube. YouTube is great. It's one of the largest search engines out there. Just a little tip for any of you designing websites, make sure you incorporate some sort of YouTube inside of it. Make sure that you incorporate some sort of pictures. Pictures are also one of the largest search categories. So, on your website, have a page just of pictures of you doing live work, you behind the board, you setting up speakers, you testing cables on stage. And I guarantee you, if you talk to anybody who's there shooting pictures of the night, you can ask him, hey, can you take a shot or two of me? That'd be great. Here's my website. If you can email them to me, that'd be awesome. And hey, throw them a few bucks for their trouble, give them a little bit of motivation. But what that's going to do for you is actually give you a means by which to have media on the internet. On YouTube, go in and make montages of your music. Like make a good cut where it's a good 2 or 3 songs melded together. You can now edit audio and video right there on YouTube and crossfade stuff. You can chop it up. You can even add still photos or moving video. So you can kind of make your own little promotional video right there on your channel. Have that posted as a videos page and have every one of those videos on there. That way, when people go to your site, they're actually watching your YouTube video on your page. It's not actually directing them to the YouTube page at all. It keeps them right there on your page. Now, the reasoning for that is because back in the day, there was bots. And basically, your rankings online came from the number of unique clicks that you got. Now, that didn't mean that somebody had to stay on there for a certain amount of time. It just meant unique clicks. So that means coming from somewhere else. They actually had people that were writing bots to make things come in off different IP addresses and click your site, stay on it for a minute, click off, go to a different IP and do it again, and do that thousands of times per day. And hey, suddenly you're getting up to the top of Google search categories. Nowadays, to avoid that and to keep bots and spammers from doing that kind of stuff, they have actually started a new algorithm that lets everything go by actual time spent on page. So one of my tricks that I do is I actually just keep my website open at all times on a computer if I'm not there watching something. Every few minutes, every 30 minutes or so, get up to use the bathroom, go change a page. But basically that equivalates to one computer out in the interwebs staying on a page on your website constantly. And eventually that will rack up. Now, once again, you want as many links as possible. Make a links page on there as well. Link to different sites that you go to. Link to different band sites. If you're a part of 2 or 3 bands as a sound guy, link to their pages. It's only going to help them, and it's only going to help you, because now you get to take advantage of every link that's out there on their page. And even better is if you put their name into the tags of your page, you'll start popping up whenever they are searched. So those kind of things are helpful, and a great way to kind of, helpful hint, market yourself grassroots style with the internet. Now, another option that comes to bear is the old pull tab flyer, especially if you're moving into a new area. If you offer a few different services, if you can do audio editing as well as live audio, if you can do video editing as well, if you can do web work, fantastic. The trick is make sure to have as many services that you can offer as possible on that pull tab flyer, and don't just go out and put it up on posts or anything like that. It's not about lamp posts whenever it comes to this, because you're not necessarily looking for the crosstown traffic like you are if you're trying to promote a show every Friday night with a band, or a garage sale. Because not every Tom, Dick, and Harry is going to want you or need you. Unfortunately, I wish that they did. Believe me, I wish they did. They would need me then too. Unfortunately, not everybody does. So you really want to focus this campaign more along the lines of rehearsal spaces, venues. Go ask some venues if it's okay if you put some up in their band section. If you have a place in town where bands are allowed to go up and specifically post. Some places like here in Austin, or where I used to live in Portland, Maine, actually had what were called bang boards, where it was a board that was posted up around the popular areas of town, and you could go in and put up your flyer there. Now, because that's where bands are going actively, that's where you would want to go. See? So you really want to try to go places. Go to your local music shop. I know every guitar center around the country has a postings board, normally right up near the front or near the bathroom. A lot of local music shops have them. Go there. Go to your local music shop. Give them a stack of business cards. Let them know that if you hook them up with something, you'll give them 10% off your first gig. If you make $100, give them 10, because that gig is going to give you a chance to get another gig off of that. So incentive programs like that are great. Craigslist. I cannot stress this enough. Make a Craigslist ad. Make a well-versed, well-worded Craigslist ad. That's really the key here, folks. Anybody can put together some random words and make a sentence, but if you can make it sound like you are an intelligent human being, like you can string 3 or 4 thoughts together and hold the conversation, it goes a long way, man. Nobody wants to hang out with a dud, especially when you're going to be a full-time sound guy for someone. If you're going to be at a bar, the bartenders are going to have to like you. The bar manager's going to have to like you. So those are the people that you want to make an impression with. Once you make an impression with them, then you're pretty much in the family, I mean, a great idea and a great way to do that is if you have a place that you want to start working, frequent it. Go give them your money. Go have drinks there. Go out and see a show or two there. Get to know the sound guy. Drop your name, things like that. Keep talking to him. Eventually you'll be that dude that, hey, they'll say hi to you just so you don't come bug them. And once that happens, hey, now they know your name. It's a whole heck of a lot easier, And being able to network like that is really what it's all about. It's very, very important. And myself, it took me a long time to get to this point. I'll be honest, right now, my entire life, if you recall in the Confessions of an Audio Engineer episode 3, as a matter of fact, I talked about my background, and I talked about how I came into sound and how I had come into it through theater and through acting. And through being on stage, I found that not only did I really like the technical aspect of things, not only did I really like the plugging in, plugging out, lights, knobs, faders, inputs, outputs, all that kind of stuff, but I was way better at that than I was at acting. I was way better at that than I was on stage. Now, with my music, that's a little bit different. I don't find that nearly as lie-y as acting. Whenever I'm having to lie in front of a big crowd, that could make it a little bit tough, at least for me. So, for me, it's the fact that, I do this because I absolutely love it. And that shows through. That shows through. Enthusiasm for what you do, passion for what you do shows through every time. And, people will want to be around that. It's a gravitas. People are drawn to that naturally. And the fun part about it is that you will get to meet a lot of people. Now, as I said, I'm not a natural on-stage person. I'm not a natural, hey, you, look at me type of guy. I like to be in black. I like my little spot at my tech booth. And if you see me, something is probably gone horribly, horribly awry for the day. That's how I like to be. I like to be in the background and just kind of obscure it a little bit. So for me, it was hard. It took a lot. Now, I've always been someone that could hold a conversation with my friends. If I knew you, I could sit back and talk for hours. I find this fairly easy because I'm talking about something that I love and to people that I like. So to me, this comes naturally. However, going out just to meet people at a party, not really me. Not really the thing that I did my whole life. So it took a big stepping out when I decided to be self-employed. That was something that I really honestly had to pray about quite a bit, because that was a part of my life and a part of my personality that I really had to flip script on rapidly. I had to change that as fast as I could, because if I kept that up, I wouldn't get gigs. Now, I'd been a house sound guy for a while. So that was always one of those things, like I said, go get familiar with the bar, be there, get to know people, but just walking into a strange place or responding to an ad that you see and giving a phone call, there's nothing like a personal phone call, and there's nothing like somebody that can hold a conversation and has a little bit of enthusiasm in their voice. That goes a whole lot further than a bland old email will. Now, don't get me wrong, email as well. But make sure that you're ready to go out and be social, because that's what it takes. That's what it takes to land gigs. Whether it be for a band, whether it be for an audio engineer, a video engineer, a recording specialist, whatever. It's the fact that you've got to be willing to go out there, show people what you've got, and do it. And that's just it. Do it. There's no option of failure. The only reason that you fail is so that you can learn what not to do. So feel free. Go out. If you don't get the gig, move on to the next club, move on to the next venue, move on to the next band. There are tons of them out there. Tons of them. Now, as far as bringing all this together, coalescing it, really what it takes is stick-to-itiveness. It takes a lot of gumption. It takes a lot of heart. The same way it does with acting. You're going to get a lot of doors slammed in your face. You're going to get a whole lot of, hey, get out of here, guy. We got somebody. Don't be discouraged. Don't let that beat you down. Don't let that stop you. Remember, this is what you love. If it's right, it will happen. If it's right, it'll happen. Once you're on the right path, things will be like rafting on a river, man. It's not swimming anymore. It's fun and it's amazing, and things just fall in line. And believe me, it takes a while to get to critical mass. It takes a while once you're in a new market to get there. But spend the time with it. Treat it like a baby. Remember that businesses are just like children. They need to be fed. They need to be taken care of, loved, nurtured. You have to spend time on it. You can't just spend 3 hours a week on it and then wonder why nobody calls you, everybody. And that's just a fact. Treat it like a job. Most of the time, if you went to a job, you'd be at it 8 hours a day. If you have a full-time job, spend 2 hours a night on it. 2 hours. Same thing, same credence that you would give a guitar if you were trying to learn it. 1 hour a night. Spend that minimum every single day, and you'll be surprised what can happen within a week. So, on that note, that pretty much wraps it up for this edition of the Talking Sound podcast. Please, everybody, do not forget to stop by and check us out online, www.talkingsoundshow.com. We have all kinds of new stuff. We now have a tech videos page. We have an industry news page where we've gotten permission from a bunch of people, Mogami, Neve Audio, all kinds of distributors to find out the latest and greatest in technology. We've also recently joined SoundCloud. So please stop off by our SoundCloud. That is SoundCloud/Talking Sound Show. Once again, SoundCloud/Talking Sound Show. And you can get the latest 3 episodes of the podcast there. You can also check us out on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and search Talking Sound Show. You can find us that way. We have all of the episodes in video format there. All of the episodes are available for free on our audio feeds page on the website. So stop by there. You can right-click, download them. Also, please come be our friend on Facebook. Keep up with all the latest and greatest updates. That's Facebook/Talking Sound Show. And finally, our Twitter. Don't forget to tweet at us anytime you want. That is at Talking Sound. Once again, my name is Christopher Jordan. This is the Talking Sound podcast. And until next time, everybody, keep on reaching for 11 on that amplifier. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
This is Talking Sound.